Okay, normally the budget is in early May, but this is our spring budget week. The federal budget will be delivered tomorrow. It was delayed by the pandemic and it's been largely destroyed by the pandemic and the reaction to it. In his first budget, Josh Frydenberg got to promise the first surplus in more than a decade. He said we were back in the black. In his second, we are consumed by economic darkness, deep in the red, and he'll get to forecast a record deficit of more than $210 billion. $210 billion or more. Our national debt will be allowed to blow up beyond $1 trillion. That's $1,000 billion. Only a few years ago, we were worried sick when debt topped $300 billion and then $500 billion or $500 billion. Now we're going the full hog. And we're getting tax cuts too. In other words, all the rules have changed. All the fundamentals of the economic debate have been flipped. All the focus on fiscal rectitude has been discarded. I've got to say, this worries me greatly, and I bet it worries you too. First, because we have to question the pandemic response. Have we shut down too hard, too long, especially in Victoria, adding unnecessary economic pain to our health challenge? It only makes sense if there is a vaccine, and we still haven't got one, and the budget is predicated on us getting one next year. Without an effective vaccine, we'll all have to learn to live with the virus, and we'll have wasted a whole year and decades worth of debt to pretend the coronavirus was a temporary rather than a permanent or long-term challenge. Let's hope there is a vaccine. In reality, some sort of a vaccine will be used, I reckon, even if it's not highly effective. They'll get it out there and it'll give governments some cover to start to open up more. But I still worry we have mismanaged this threat very, very badly indeed. All those countries with higher mortality rates early but falling rates now might not have been so reckless. They might just be ahead of where we might eventually end up without a vaccine, except we've blown the bank along the way. Only time will tell, which is why I don't think we can be too emphatic in our judgments in the here and now. Only time will tell whether Sweden, the US, the UK and others are actually coming to grips faster with a reality that we can't stave off, or whether our expensive efforts to disrupt our economy will get us through relatively unscathed in a health sense. The jury is out and will be for many months to come. This remains a diabolical dilemma for policymakers, and this is why it's hard to assess our budget strategy. The bottom line is to apply the same standards we applied back when Labor rolled out all that stimulus during the GFC. Money that is well spent on economic infrastructure, roads, airports, railways, perhaps some telecommunications and the like, is useful stimulus. And handouts to help our fellow Australians through tough times is crucial to support our land of the fair go. But where money is wasteful or welfare is counterproductive, it'll have to be called out and should be reined in. I'm reminded of something Malcolm Turnbull said when Labor announced its $42 billion GFC stimulus, and he was the opposition leader back then. He said no government can spend that amount of money that quickly without huge stuff-ups. He might have used more pointed language at the time, but that is what he said, and he was dead right. And I fear the same should be said right now. The scope of the challenge and the size of the debt, notwithstanding record low interest rates, should never excuse wasteful spending. That's the test for Frydenberg and Scott Morrison. Make every dollar of debt count. And remember, the main game is not spending, it's reforming the economy and opening up our great nation.